welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell. I'm also the founder of Unstoppable Overcomers Productions, where we're a full service agency. And I have this distinct pleasure of bringing Zuzel Pareto to the screen. Welcome. How are you tonight?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. We have some nice weather, although I think it's going to get hot and humid towards the end of the week, but we'll see. I'll take the weather we're having right now, which is nice.
It's actually humid here in Windsor. So
okay.
if
well, maybe that's the weather that's coming down to us.
It's going across. You guys can have all the heat. You know, it was cold last week.
You can keep it there. You can keep it there.
I love it. I love it. Zuzel is in the great state of New York, and I'm here in Windsor, Ontario. And so, you know, everything, usually our weather is your weather, but there's some differences. But, yeah, well,
similar for sure.
Yes. So, Zuzel, tell the world a little bit about yourself. A little bit about your background, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I'm actually in New Jersey, but a hop skip away from New York City. I'm literally, with no traffic, which of course I'd have to go through the Lincoln Tunnel for that. So that could really play havoc on how quickly I can get into the city. But I'm about 15, 20 minutes from the city with no traffic. But born and raised in New Jersey, and, graduated from high school and went to Rutgers University. So always within, the state of New Jersey. And graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Sociology. I did a double major, and started my HR career shortly thereafter. And I've had a very long-standing HR career, mostly in the fashion, not mostly, all in the fashion industry. And until just recently, where I left corporate America and have just recently co-founded a consulting practice.
I love that. Love that. And it's funny because we were in New Jersey. We stayed in New Jersey, went to New York last August. And you're right. It's literally 15 minutes through that tunnel, but that tunnel can take you 15 minutes or it can take you an hour, depending.
Oh, yes.
Love it. And so HR in fashion, that has got to be like, what made you decide to go into the fashion end of it? It just started that way, or?
It just started that way. And I should probably take a step back. And I think a question that I always get asked is, why HR? What made you go into HR? And when I went to college, my father passed away when I was early. I was only 3 years old when my father passed away, but he was an accountant. So as I grew up, I said to myself, I want to follow in my dad's footsteps and become an accountant. So when I went to college, for the first 2 years, I was taking business-related courses so that I can get into the business school and get my degree in finance. And we had to take liberal arts courses. So I started taking psychology and sociology classes. And I started finding a love and passion more to those classes than to the financial classes and the economics classes that I was in. And around that time, I joined a work study program. So they place you somewhere to work on the campus. And of all places, they placed me in the business school in their HR department. And I started doing HR assistant type work with, onboarding, doing orientation, benefits. And I found a love. I found a love of helping people, of making them feel like they had everything that they needed in their toolkit. And that was what really prompted me to look for an HR role. And when I started looking after graduation, I saw this job for a labor relations assistant at Liz Claiborne back in the day. And it's history from there. So that's really what drove me to, one, get into HR. And then two, I just went into fashion. And of course, what's not to love about fashion, right?
So wait, did you get the free clothes and all that?
I wouldn't say free clothes, but we had discounts. We would sometimes do employee sample sales, which I remember one sample sale back in Liz Claiborne, where if you worked the sale, if you helped out at the sale, you can get one of those big, trash bags and fill it up and, leave with it. And that was how you got paid basically for it. And times have changed since then. But, I when I look at my closet, I have years worth of different brands, different, generations of brands. It's
Right.
incredible to think about it.
Wow, that's so it's funny. I've never had anything name brand. I went to Florida 2 years ago or 2 months ago, and my girlfriend says, "Oh, when's your birthday?" And I'm like, "Oh, July." She goes, "What's your favorite color?" I'm like, "Blue." Well, what color blue? I'm like, "I don't know, royal blue." She comes out with a Coach purse, matching wallet, matching dime wallet, and that was the very first thing that I've ever had that was brand name. I
Wow.
was just like, holy cow.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Coach because when I decided to leave Liz Claiborne, um, two companies that I pursued and I interviewed with and I got offers. One was at Coach and the other was Ralph Lauren, which ultimately I made the decision to accept the role with Ralph Lauren, which I also had a very fruitful career there.
Right. I love that. And I think I had to do some kind of I forget project or something for school, and I chose to dig into Ralph Lauren's, and find out more about him. And I don't know, that was so long ago that I won't even go there.
He's an incredible individual, a great human being, love of family, love of culture, love of his brand. It just infuses within the organization.
Right. I love that. When you have that from the top, that buy-in from the top, well, it's his brand, right? So why wouldn't he? But when you have that kind of leadership, it makes going to work a lot easier.
Absolutely. And because of that love and that heritage and the love of, the family feel of the organization, you just want to do everything that you can to represent him in the best way possible.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Love, love, love that. So now you here, you've decided to take a break from corporate America for a little bit, get your own business going. And so what is it that you do at the People Advisory Group?
So, in a nutshell, we're a full suite of HR services, whether it's working with an individual or working with a corporation. We provide HR services ranging from, if it's an individual, we can do coaching with them, executive coaching to career transitional coaching, life coach experiences, to working with companies where we can work with them on, executive recruitment, to onboarding an executive, to facilitation of rollouts of programs like talent development programs, to working on offboarding and outplacement services. Right, there's a big niche in that. There's about statistics show that about 70% of organizations don't have a formal offboarding or outplacement service program for their employees as when they have to exit them. So we offer those types of services.
Right.
And
Love.
really, the companies that don't have a proper or may not have a formal HR infrastructure, right? We're there to be strategic advisors to companies that may not have the resources to hire someone on a full-time basis, but can put you as an advisor for them.
Right. So somebody who's like small business, basically just starting out, that really doesn't know what the hell they're doing, but knows they need the help, so they can hire you, and that way they don't get themselves in a mess with the government, number one, and number two, with accidents in the workplace and things like that.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, that you're making the right decisions, that you're communicating in the right way to your employees, and not go against anything that might be non-compliant. So we're there to provide that level of expertise and advisory services to, I would say, small to mid-sized companies, but we can work with large companies too if they need support with whether it's an interim HR assignment to providing a rollout of performance management, succession planning, or facilitation of team building services. It really depends on what the needs of that business is. But we mostly concentrate a lot on coaching and recruitment services.
Right. Perfect. Love that. So, what would you say 3 things that you'd have to overcome to get to where you're in to even start your own business?
Um, that's interesting because one of the things that I had to overcome was I guess the fear of leaving corporate America, because when you're under the umbrella of a corporation, you have a different level of support than making the decision to go out on your own or co-found, right, a new consulting practice. But having that support system with the other two co-founders really helped to facilitate the move in that direction, because they are a little bit further along with consulting. They've done it for a number of years, so they had the experience that they were able to somewhat carry me along, but also show me the path to what this can look like. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for me currently. But just looking throughout my career, I mean, I remember when I first started HR, the one thing I had to learn was being the only female in the room, because I started my career in labor relations. So usually it was walking into a room that was full of men. So how did you stand up so that you didn't feel like you had that imposter syndrome, but really showcase your ability and skills as you walked into the room and be a woman in the room?
Mm-hmm.
So that, I feel, is something that I learned early on in my career. And then really just overcoming, sometimes a lot of people have lack of trust in HR professionals. So building that rapport and that relationship where people can really open up to you, especially when you do one-on-one coaching, you have to build that trust between yourself and the coachee. So ensuring that, you come to whatever situation or whatever meeting with an awareness of that, and building a relationship and opening the conversation to a trusting conversation.
Absolutely, 100%. You brought up a lot of amazing points, and I don't think there's anybody that I've interviewed that didn't have the fear conversation. Overcoming themselves, their mindset, and just like busting through that. Yes, I mean it's natural that we have those things, those feelings, those thoughts, but to just bust through that and keep going. Having that mindset that no matter what, we're just going to keep going. And even if it takes us a little bit longer than we expected, we're not giving up. And so I love that you said that. And you're right. As in a male dominated world, sometimes it can be overwhelming for us women. I've worked for several places where it was what do we call that? Not a man's world, but there's a special name for it. Boys Club.
Boys Club.
The Boys Club. Yep. I work for the Boys Club. And,
But
and
it
so,
teaches you skills. It teaches you skills and abilities that if you weren't put in that situation, you may not otherwise learn about yourself, to be honest. So it does give you a certain level of confidence in having to manage all types of situations.
100%. It's, I'm glad you said that, because without it, like, you wouldn't stand up for yourself. And if you don't stand up for yourself, they're never going to listen to you ever. So you have to stand out. And I love that you said that. As a woman, we have to stand out. And, however way you got to do that, as long as it's in a positive way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I love that you said that. And yes, trust within HR. Sometimes it's hard. I can remember a couple situations where at some of the other places that I've worked, where it was just like the politics in the office was crazy, and then you have HR. Okay, so what was that all about? And then it just became a shit show, really.
And HR has to protect the employee, but it has to also protect the organization. And sometimes the employee doesn't want to hear what we have to say. Um, and that's okay, right? And that's one of the things that uh, I guess I've learned along the years, that you can't always please everyone, because they expect you to say something that is going to be agreeable with them, and when it's not, they turn against you, or they mistrust you then. So trying to always keep the lines of communication open is critical in the world of HR, because if you are transparent as much as you can, because sometimes things are highly confidential and can't be shared, but really building that open rapport with them, and communicating when you can communicate, will showcase a level of trust that otherwise may not be there.
100%. Showing vulnerability is not a bad thing, in my opinion. And you're right, because you're at that level, you have to honor management, but you also have to honor the employee. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy position to be in. Trust it, I get it.
It's not, and we're human too. I think people tend to forget that, as they look at us as human resources, but they forget that we're human beings as well, and that we feel, and feel the pain that they feel as well, as or share the joy with them, right? Because it's not always painful situations. It's also great accomplishments.
100%. 100%. What would you say has been your favorite moment so far in your HR career?
I think one pivotal point in my career is, I always told my honey that something was missing from my resume as I was, going along in my career. And I had traveled abroad for work, but I had never lived abroad. And I said to him, like, that's the one thing that is missing on my resume. I need to live abroad. I need to immerse myself in a culture. I need to learn how to live outside of the U.S. and learn about what makes the work, when you're, especially if you're working for an American company overseas. And I had that opportunity a couple years into Ralph Lauren to move to Hong Kong, where I was there for almost a year. And I was supporting the managing director for Asia sourcing. And it was really a highlight in my career, both professionally and personally. It grew me and stretched me in ways that I didn't know that I had the capability to do. And it was a great learning experience on a personal level. I moved there on my own, so it was my first time away from anyone, which was a scary experience. Talk about vulnerability. I remember the first day I arrived there, it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I get into the apartment. I walk up to the window and I start crying hysterically. And I called him and I said, I think I've made a mistake. I don't know what I'm doing here. And he's like, you got this. He goes, don't worry about what's going on back home. I've got it covered here. He goes, you can do this. And it was just that love and support and motivation that really got me through that day, and really was a turning point for me from that point on. And, which probably leads me to another point, making sure that you have a good support system in order to move you along in your career or whatever aspirations you have in your life. Because that was a critical moment for me. And it was a highlight of my career.
That's amazing. I did not know that. That's something we never talked about off air. So I love that. And too bad I didn't know you back then, because I have family in Hong Kong and I've never been able to get to Hong Kong.
Wow. Oh, yeah. It's a great city. If anyone were to ever do, an expat assignment, Hong Kong is one of the best, great cities to do that in. And I know they've had some of their issues, from whether it's political or post COVID, but it's still a great city.
Right. Well, that is awesome. My aunt lives on Discovery Bay, so I have to get there one day.
Wow.
She's only been there for 20 some odd years.
Oh
We've
my
never been able to
gosh.
go. And it's funny because if I can get a plane ticket there, like everything, once we get there, is taken care of. It's just a matter of getting there.
Oh,
But
you should definitely make a point to have it checked off on your bucket list.
yeah, I guess I should. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk with my husband and say, hey, we got to make this a priority. Um, yeah, she's never had family go there.
Oh. Oh, I
I
wish I
know.
would have known you then because then I would have reached out to her while I
I
was there.
know. Just it bums me out. Right now, her kids are in BC, British Columbia,
Okay.
and but yeah, her and her husband. He's her husband's the dean at the University of Hong Kong.
Oh,
So
wow. Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
so
Oh, you have to make it over there.
have to. Now you're making my like, oh man, I gotta go. I sound like the
Mhm.
world's worst niece.
No, just, things happen in life, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's not like you can just go there for a weekend. It's like because it almost takes you
No.
2 days to get there.
Yeah,
So
it's a 16 non well, from New York, it's a 16-hour nonstop flight.
yeah, she's come home a couple times since they've lived there, but mostly when my grandparents were dying, but or sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'll have to get there now. Now that this come up on the show,
Well, there's so much to
people
see and do while you're there.
yes, people can hold me
And
accountable.
easy to hop around to other places like Singapore or, Japan. It's like a 2-hour flight to Japan from there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. Interesting. I'll have to look into it now.
Thailand. There's so many opportunities.
I would like to go to Singapore on their Chinese New Year
I
in
was there I
February.
was there for Chinese New Year when I
Oh,
moved, and it was incredible.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that
It
would
was so
be
much fun to be there and to, like, experience it.
yeah, because his parents live in Singapore, so like my uncle's parents. So
I see a great trip in your future.
yes, I got to do it. No more of this. I got to do it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
thanks for putting something more on my list, Susie.
Start that vacation jar.
And that it'd be a bucket. I know flights are not cheap to that area, but oh well.
Sometimes you can get really good deals, though.
Yeah. If any of my travel agents are listening in, let me know if there's any good deals.
They can plan it all out for you.
There we go.
Yeah.
That funny because Erin Kofer, she was on our show too. She's a travel agent, so I'll have to connect with her for Washoa. So, what would you say are three things that you helped your clients overcome?
Overcome fear, fear of change, because change at the end of the day is the only constant that we have, right? So,
Right.
really being able to navigate through that change and understanding what about a certain situation is giving them that fear and how to overcome it. Um, Giving them a self-awareness. So if I'm focusing on an individual right now, right?
Mhm.
So giving them that self-awareness of their strengths and opportunities, um, just making them showcase what they're capable of and helping them navigate through whatever they may be going through, right?
Mhm.
It's an investment at the end of the day for them, and so you want to see them excel and shine to be the best version of themselves. So really helping them with those elements. Um, and I think from a business standpoint, helping them first understanding what their business goals and strategies are, where they see themselves today, where they see themselves from years from now, and then understanding the people element to that, right? And marrying the two together and making sure that there's whether it's communication, whether it's processes that are put in place, making sure, when we talk about talent, making sure it's the right organizational structure, it's the right level of talent with the right level of capabilities and expertise that's going to be able to help the organization achieve their goals and objectives, So it's really helping to bridge that gap. And sometimes it's helping them, build a culture and drive engagement and productivity from their employees. And you could do that through different channels, whether it's employee surveys or whether it's, building a robust succession planning or career mapping framework that will help the employees see how they can develop and grow within an organization. And again, going back to communication, making sure that the employees really understand what the leaders are thinking and what's behind these strategies, right? And how the company is going to or plans to get there. Um, so that's just
I
a few of the things that we help.
Right. I love that. There was something that you said that just like it was like a aha moment. And I probably heard it several times, but just the way you said it. Sometimes we can be in a position or in a job we love the where we're working, but we don't necessarily like the position. The position has gotten stagnant and you just can't go anywhere. And sometimes the best move you could do is a lateral move within that organization, because it's not only great for the employee, but it's even better for the business itself, because you can have the right person, they're just not in the right they're just not in the right job. So I love that you said, like, maneuvering things around where, hey, this person's great, they're a cheerleader for the company, but yet where they're at is they're just not excelling in it.
And sometimes when they're not excelling is when you have a lack of engagement. And a lot of times then people will leave the organization. Most people don't leave an organization for money. The number one reason people leave an organization is because of their leader or manager or the culture of a company. So making sure that you have the right leaders in place, making sure you have the right culture and branding in place that will drive engagement, drive productivity, making sure that you have clear roadmaps for people to understand where their careers can go within an organization. And not all the time most people assume that you can only move vertically. And a career is really like a lattice. Like if you think of a lattice fence, um, a lot of times the best career mobility is moving, zigzagging into other areas of the company, learning different skills, learning to deal with different leadership styles, and then ultimately coming back to where you ultimately want to achieve your most desired growth in a role or career. So it's about the movement, and a lot of times people don't want to move laterally, but those lateral moves can open doors because you never know what's going to be around the corner, right? And you
Mhm.
won't know until you actually do it. And again, it goes back a little bit to that fear of getting people out of their comfort zone and having them learn new and different things that will automatically catapult them into greater things for themselves and for the company. Because as you build these employees, you inherit um, a, a a ton of knowledge and ability to be able to move around the organization and deal with different people and build a network of relationships that if somebody stayed within one singular area you wouldn't necessarily have then.
I love that, and it's important as an employee to build those relationships outside of your department too. Because I know where I currently work, like I'm friends with everyone, like pretty much somebody in each department. So, not only is it a great move, I mean, I like making friends everywhere I go, so it doesn't really matter to me. But it's also like if you need something from that department too, it's like you have that open relationship where you could just talk and say, hey, I really need this. Can you help me with this? And vice versa. They can come and say, hey, I need something paid. Can you get it through for me? And so building that relationship in every department, I think, is key.
And having the right leadership, the leadership that will be able to explain the strategies, the right leader for you that will be able to grow and develop you and challenge you to look at things in different ways. That is just as critical. So when you talk about someone's development, it's not all on you, it's the leader as well, right? But you both have to come into the middle. And you can't expect your leader to do it all either, right? There has to be a give and take between the two of you in order to fulfill your desired outcome. But having the right leader is very critical.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Could not agree with you more. I love it. And see, the half hour's already passed and it
Oh my
felt like
gosh,
nothing.
really?
I know, I told you that.
That's
I
crazy.
I know, I love it. So where is the best place that you would like people to find you at, Zuzel?
Well, I see the scroll going on down at the bottom. That is the link to our website. I'd love for anyone to join on the website and take a look at the offerings that we provide. Myself with my two co-founders, Melissa Wallace and Christina Davis. And you can also look me up on LinkedIn. If you want to send me a note, please do so. And you can reach me at Zuzel at thepeopleadvisory.com if you want to send me a note, or you can send me, like I said, a message on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. A lot of great nuggets from today's from today. I'm not going to say it's a call. It's not a call. A show. We'll call it a show from today's show. There we go. So thank you so much for coming here.
And thank you for having me. This was great. This was great. I really enjoy conversing with you.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime.
We'll have to, I always like to say, hey, come back a year from now and see where you're at. That way we can,
a lot can happen in I would even say 6 months.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. And thank you for those that were watching, and thank you for those that are going to catch us on the replay. Don't forget, be unstoppable in all that you do. Check out our YouTube channel at Unstoppable Overcomers, as well as our Roku channel. Subscribe today, share with your friends, get the word out about the positivity that we have over here, and definitely tell them about Zuzel's story and tell them to subscribe to the channel and get eyes on this episode specifically, and share it with anybody that you may think needs some kind of help within the HR realm, and have them reach out to Zuzel and her website for those of you that are going to hear this on Spotify, www.the/people/advisory.com. And thanks for watching. See you next week.
Thank you again.